Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back with another knife overview. Today we're going to be looking at the Strider PT Gen 3, and this is kind of the little known obscure little brother to the Strider SMG and the SMF. And to be honest with you, there isn't much information on them online. There's not many reviews or anything. Like, usually I can kind of find a trail of whatever knife I'm reviewing, but this one was actually kind of tough. But with that, we'll kind of jump right into it. This is going to be the smallest Strider folder, so it features a 2.3-inch cutting edge. The closed length is going to be 3.5 inches overall. It is 6.5 inches. The version that I have features CPM 154 steel. It has 6 AL4V titanium handles, and the hardware, actually, I thought it was kind of funny. It says that it is, quote, Swiss machined titanium. So I don't know. I guess the Swiss are known for their titanium hardware, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, so this is going to be tip up right or left hand carry, which we normally don't see in Striders. And I was a little bit thrown off by this hole kind of on the show side here, but that's actually so you can switch the pocket clip over. So I don't really know what that would look like. Obviously, you'd have to flip this entire barrel spacer over, but I think that that's kind of a cool option, and it's curious as to why they kind of relegate it to this version, but I'm assuming it has something to do with the fact that this is a full titanium scale knife, which also is another difference from, an SNG or an SMF, which we'll get into comparing these in a little bit. But all the SNGs and SMFs, normally they'll be running G10, aluminum, something like that. So it's very rare to kind of see a full framed titanium Strider, but with that, they were able to make this ambidextrous. Now, when there is not a clip in here, it's just open. It's not like another knife that would have a plug for it or anything like that, so you're just kind of left with a threaded screw hole that makes you think that you're missing something. You're not. The MSRP on this is going to be $350. There is no proprietary hardware. It's all Torx bits. It is going to be running on washers, so those are kind of the stats for this one, and I'll make a couple comparisons. This one's an easy one to compare it to. I'm not going to get into, smaller 2.5 or 3-inch knives, but here's the Strider PT as compared to, you guessed it, an SNG. And let me get this kind of into frame here. So you can see it's a lot smaller than an SNG, and then the SNG's big brother, the SMF, which again, we're going to have to keep moving over a little bit to get them in the frame. But so Strider PT, SMF, SNG. So I guess if you have OCD like me, you would want to see them like this: small, bigger, biggest. So we're gonna get into a couple of my observations with this. I haven't seen too many comparison videos kind of comparing these models. Again, the SNG is probably the most popular, but the Strider PT, honestly, it took me a while to even know that this knife existed. Like, I think the people that are, Strider fans don't really look at this one, and I definitely see why, but as someone who really enjoys Striders and also just happened to collect knives, I think it's a pretty cool piece to have in my collection. So with that, we're going to jump into my observations. All right, my first observation with the Strider PT, and I think a lot of times, like, we buy knives online, like the days of brick and mortar, going into a store, putting a knife in your hand. I mean, the last one that I did that with was a Benchmade, probably about 8 or 10 years ago. Like, the knives that I like, you normally have to order online, and this one was no different. But I think a lot of the times when you see a picture of this, you don't really have an appreciation for the size. Again, you can read the specs, but until you actually see this in person or see it compared to a knife that you're familiar with, this thing it's so small, like very, very tiny. I don't know, like it's definitely smaller than I thought it would be. Like, even reading the specs, I mean, this thing is like fun size for sure. The interesting thing for me with this knife is it still features a full-size pocket clip, and I'm not sure if I don't think there's any like aftermarket companies that are making clips for it, but it is literally the same clip that its two older, much bigger brothers use, and I think that that's interesting. It's not proportional to the rest of the knife. I mean, this clip on the PT is absolutely massive. The next observation that I had was just like how good the ergonomics were for such a small and blocky knife. It's still, I have to say, it still feels smaller to me than that Berg Iron Pup, which I, got that thing, was excited, and then I punted it immediately because it was just ridiculous. But this is by all accounts a very thick, small knife, but Strider's ergonomics that they keep for the SNG or the SMF really translate well into a very tiny knife. Like I'm really confident in using this. If I had to pick my fingernails or something, no, I don't know what people are using this for. I'm gonna be honest with you, but for the size, I thought that the dimensions would be all off. It wouldn't be very like wieldy or feel good, but it actually does feel good in that choked up grip. I mean, certainly the traditional grip of back here definitely leaves a lot to be desired. Again, I have very big hands, but when I choke up here and kind of get on the jimping, it really is not that bad. All right, the next observation that I had was just the lock bar cutout, and Striders do a pretty good job of doing this, but again, it was really nice to see on such a, micro knife, but they did a really good job of recessing or kind of like knocking down the edges to make it really comfortable to get your thumb in here. Like when I first looked at this knife, I was like, oh, I was a little bit hesitant with, if my finger would fit in here, what it would, how it would be to actually close the action and unlock the knife, but it's actually really easy. And then similarly to other Striders, you still have the option to flick it with your pointer finger. It is actually really comfortable to open with your thumb as well. And then what I like to do with Striders, actually I'll kind of use my middle finger here to break the lock and close it with one hand. I've always kind of done that, like certainly with my SMF, like that's one of my favorite things to do is close it like that. You can also do that in the Strider PT. So, I mean, I was surprised. I thought this would be limited based on the size of it on, how it would feel, but it's a very Stridery Strider, which is really cool to see. And that concludes my overview of the Strider PT Gen 3. Overall, I really wouldn't be into this knife if it wasn't a Strider. Again, I'm very passionate about Striders. I have a couple of them. I definitely respect them as knives go, but this one it's definitely just too small for what I like to carry. I think it's a cool piece of to have in your Strider collection. If I was forced to choose kind of like a 3-inch blade, but 3-inch blades are way too small for me. I need to be in that 3.5 to 4-inch variety for sure. But I would definitely choose this over the McNeese 3-inch, or definitely that Berg Iron Pup that I had. I would choose this over the Medford Smooth Criminal that I tested out, kind of in that 3-inch shootout. But at the end of the day, and I might just be, I don't know, I might be too much of a CRK fanboy right now, but I would definitely take, for the price, again, $350 being the MSRP here, I would definitely take a CRK Small Sebenza or Nkosi over this. I think that knife, or one of those knives, would definitely still beat this thing out. But I really do like it. I think it's cool. It's just like the tiny little brother of the other two Strider folders. So yeah, appreciate you all tuning in. I have a couple more videos coming up this weekend. This was kind of the one I was trying to knock out, but I'm really excited for the other one. So we'll see you soon.